This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and then the show is repeated in its entirety every 4 hours after that on the various networks around the world. Worldwide, toll-free, 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Robert Spencer. He is the director of Jihad Watch, a program of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades, and The Truth About Muhammad, as well as 6 other books on Islam and terrorism, including Religion of Peace, Onward Muslim Soldiers, How Jihad Still Threatens America, and the West and Islam Unveiled. His article on Islam and other topics have appeared in the New York Post, the Washington Times, the Dallas Morning News, FrontPageMagazine.com, WorldNet Daily, Insight in the News, Human Events, National Review Online, and many other journals. Our guest this hour has appeared on Fox News, CNN, PBS, and C-SPAN, and other nationally syndicated radio shows, including Michael Savage's Savage Nation, just to name a few. He's also been on the BBC and Vatican Radio discussing jihad, Islam, and terrorism. Now, Mr. Spencer has studied Islamic theology, law, and history for more than 25 years and has trained the FBI and other government officials on the threats of jihad in America. We're talking to Robert tonight about his new book, Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. And joining me now is Robert Spencer. And Robert, welcome to the X-Zone.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you.
You know what, Robert, this is one topic that you just can't get enough of, because I believe that there's more to this than meets the eye. And, you know, people talk about government conspiracies, government cover-ups, and so on. I think that this is one of the biggest conspiracy and cover-ups that is being perpetrated in the world today.
It is. There's no doubt about that. And that's really what the book is about, that there's this denial that pervades our response to the jihad threat and makes it impossible for government, law enforcement, and media to face this problem in any adequate way. And this just leaves us all more vulnerable.
Yeah, in my opinion, we have become a nation, whether it's in the United States or Canada or any other free nation, too politically correct.
Yes. Absolutely. And there's this willful ignorance at the highest level about the jihad threat, and that is absolutely crippling to our response to it.
Robert, what made you write the book, and how does it differ from your other books on terrorism?
Well, I'll tell you, Rob, what happened was I've written a book of a guide to the Quran, the Complete Infidel's Guide to the Quran, a biography of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, The Truth About Muhammad, and books about jihad and various aspects of this problem. And after 13 books and all these years doing this, I find that the denial is thicker than ever. And the unreality at the highest levels is more pervasive than ever. And so I thought that what was needed at this point was a book about that denial, about that willful refusal to face this reality and what it costs us. I mean, I'm convinced, and I show in the book, that the Boston Marathon bombing could have been prevented, that the Fort Hood jihad massacre could have been prevented, and they both should have and would have been prevented had the agents involved acted properly on the information that they had. But it was political correctness that kept them from doing so.
This is going to be one interesting hour. Please stand by. Robert, you and I have to take our first commercial break. Exonation, Robert Spencer is our special guest this hour. He's the author of Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. And his website is www.jihadwatch.org, where Robert does his daily reporting on jihad. And his book, Arab Winter Comes to America, is available at Amazon.com or Books A Million. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Later on in tonight's show, we're going to be discussing the Chinese response to the internet hacking that has been going on and how they're just dismissing the charges that the United States has leveled up against the Chinese officials. What is going on in the world these days? It must be something in the air, must be something in the food, or is it in the water? Well, hopefully here in the X Zone we'll be able to try our very best to make some sense of what in the name of heavens. Oh, can I say heavens on the show if we're politically correct? What the heck, I just said it. I figure if it's good enough for Pope Francis, it's good enough for me. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue with our guest this hour, Robert Spencer, here in the X Zone, being brought to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the XZBN network. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, a guiding light spelled LITE.com to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
I don't know where this political correctness came from. Nobody asked me if I wanted to be politically correct. I don't know. My guest this hour is Robert Spencer. He is the author of Arab Winter Comes to America, The Truth About the War We're In. His website is www.jihadwatch.org. What politically correctness, let me rephrase that. Why politically correctness is so dangerous when it comes to terrorism? Now, I believe I know the answer, but I still believe there are many people out there who are saying, come on, what are you guys talking about? You tell them, Robert.
Well, let's take, for example, the Fort Hood Jihad massacre.
Mm-hmm.
There you had an army psychiatrist, Nidal Malik Hassan, a Muslim, and he was promoted steadily, moving up on through the ranks, and every time he was promoted, he got glowing recommendations from his superiors. I quote from some of them in the book. In the recommendations, it said that he is a knowledgeable officer who can teach American soldiers a great deal about Islam, which he ended up doing, but not quite in the way that they expected. And at the time that these glowing performance evaluations were written, Nidal Malik Hassan had already frightened his co-workers with his talk of jihad, and some of them were afraid that he himself might become violent at some point. And he had already been in touch with Anwar al-Awlaki, the jihad mastermind in Yemen. And so why on earth would somebody who's in touch with a jihad terror leader and who has already frightened the people he works with his talk about jihad terror, why would they give him these positive evaluations? The answer to that is unfortunately all too obvious. It's that they knew that if they did not give him positive recommendations, then there would probably be exposés. You know, you can just imagine it, Rob, CNN, New York Times, Islamophobia in the military. Pious Muslim army major is disciplined or questioned or investigated for simply expressing his Islamic faith. And this racism and Islamophobia in the military has to be rooted out. And within the rooting out of it, these guys, the people who reported him, would be the ones who lost their careers. So they opted instead not to say anything. They promoted him. They praised him, probably just hoped for the best. And that's not what they got. They got 13 people dead. I'm not blaming them directly. I'm blaming the whole political culture that made it possible, made it necessary for them to have to praise him no matter what, because they knew that they'd be charged with bigotry if they didn't.
I often wonder what the Founding Fathers would have said, or up here, the Fathers of Confederation, if they knew then what we know now.
Yeah, well, you know, it's obviously absurd. It's self-defeating, and it's counterintuitive, this politically correct dogma that we all have to live under. And that is, it's the cost of it just keeps mounting. And, you know, I would like to think that the Founding Fathers, the founders of both Canada and the United States, would have been appalled to think that in order to preserve certain privileged ideas as if they were cherished religious dogmas, we have to discourage free discussion of these issues and stamp out the freedom of speech. After all, the freedom of speech is in the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution precisely to protect unpopular speech that tells truths that people don't want to hear.
Unbelievable. Earlier you said that the Boston bombings could have been avoided. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Just as the Fort Hood massacre could have been avoided, there's no doubt that the Boston bombings could have been avoided. Now, for this, I have to tell you, as you actually introduced me earlier, that I used to be an FBI trainer.
Yes.
And I am no longer, because I did it for about 5 years. I trained FBI, CIA, U.S. military, various other groups in Islam. I would teach them about the Quran and about Muhammad and so on, so that they could understand the motives and goals of the people who have vowed to destroy us. And all that ended in 2011 when the Obama administration actually received a letter from 57